I'm the Hornet King, and I remove incredible and insane wasp nests. Whether their nests are underground, in a house, in a tree, or even down a well, I'm the person crazy enough to extract them, and I do so with my trusty vacuum. In this video, I'll be removing a massive yellow jacket colony that decided to make its nest above the ceiling in a client's basement. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome to the Hornet King channel. So this was a yellow jacket colony, Vespula germanica, which is also known as a German yellow jacket species. And anyone who's ever been here to my channel knows that German yellow jackets make some of the larger nests of the yellow jacket species that I take care of. Look at the size of this thing. This thing was bigger than a basketball. It was maybe 20 inches in diameter and about 14 inches wide. In some spots, but for the most part, it was just absolutely huge. And this client was noticing in and out activity from outside, right above where their brick met the overhang of their house. This was a bi-level house. So in between these joists on either side was this massive nest. Now you can see there's foam insulation around it, so they even got through the foaming insulation to find their way into the space. Now, you will notice that there are a lot of males around here. Right here on this shot, you can see males on the side of the nest. And they're the ones with the longer antennae, and they're kind of just walking slowly. They're not aggressive. So this was already a reproductive nest. So there may have been queens that had already mated with males and had left for the season to go and start their own colony for next year. Often people ask me, like, okay, well, what is it about a season? Like, is it like fall? Is it summer? No, a season only refers to the life cycle of that particular hive. So a wasp season can start at the beginning of spring and last all the way till the end of fall or early winter for some species. And German yellow jackets is one of those. They will continue to thrive well into early winter time, at least as far as I've seen. And even some of my clients will call me in the dead of winter saying that they're starting to see emerging queens coming out if they had a nest in the middle of their walls or something and they didn't have it removed. The new queens will actually hunker down inside the wall space until springtime, or what they think is springtime. And most of the time, it's when someone like lights up a wood stove or something and the wasps start to re-emerge out of the house thinking it's springtime. So they'll start looking for a new place to build a nest. And that's usually when I start getting calls in the dead of winter, is when people warm up a room that normally doesn't get very warm or what have you, and those queens wake up and think, oh, it's time for me to go build a nest. So you can see with this particular nest, there were several very large queen cell comb. And the bottom 3 tiers that you see here are all queen cells. Now, it's not to say that every single cell in that comb are queen cells, but the ones you can see here are definitely queen cells. And you can compare them to the 4th layer up is very small, and the one below it are very large. Oftentimes, you'll have workers start to build regular cell worker cell comb, and then they will build the queen comb on the outer perimeter of that same comb. So it's kind of hard to say definitively that all 3 of those comb layers were queen cells, but there was definitely queen cell on them, at least on that 3rd one up. So, as with any of my removals, I have to vacuum up very gingerly. I don't want to shake this nest too much, but I can remove off a lot of the envelope without disturbing the nest and causing more of a swarm. There were tons in here. I mean, there was probably about 2,000 to 2,200, somewhere in there. Not the largest colony size as far as numbers are concerned for this particular species, but 2,200 is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that is a lot. You see, I just accidentally hit that larva there. Well, it was actually a pupating adult, and it popped it and it dripped out, which is kind of gross. But pay attention to that spot, because in the next shot, you'll see an adult wasp pulling that damaged pupating adult out of the cell and kind of dangling it like it's about to drop. This is the problem about my vacuum, is that the hose sometimes pops off, but no big deal. Just jump down and reattach it. Now look, this one wasp here is grabbing onto a pupating adult, and I'm about to vacuum it up, and she's pulling it out of the cell, and bloop, in she goes. So they are already, like, they notice that the nest is under siege, so they start trying to repair certain things. They start trying to pull out some of the dead larvae. But once the main guards are removed from the colony, they're no longer trying to attack as much as they're just like confused. So German yellow jackets, that's why they're one of my favorite nests to remove, because they're not like 100% always aggressive. So when I'm removing them, I don't have to worry about them trying to like get in my veil or anything. They mainly just kind of dive bomb, they float around, and then that's pretty much it. But like Squamosa, Maculifrons, or southern yellow jackets and eastern yellow jackets, they will just latch on and relentlessly try to sting and attack until I'm either out of there or they're gone in general. So with German yellow jackets, it's a matter of just kind of just taking my time and just slowly, methodically taking down the nest. So here I had detached it from the floor above, and I'm about to pull it out. Not able to get the greatest shot because I was using the phone screen as my eyes up inside that cavity, because I could not stick my head up in that ceiling space. So I had to use the phone as my eyes while I was doing the actual removal. So that's why sometimes it looks like I'm not actually hitting the envelope at certain points with the nozzle of the vacuum, because I couldn't see it. So I pretty much had my face like pressed up against the ceiling trying to look at the screen of my phone. So I had to cut a little bit bigger of a hole to get this nest out. Now some people ask, well, why damage more drywall if you don't have to, if you can just cut up the comb? But there are a lot of adults in between the layers of comb. And to cut the comb apart, you're just releasing all those adults to fly around. Then that's more adults I have to suck up in the vacuum. If I can keep the nest in one piece, most of them stay in between the layers, and I can pull everybody down at once and put them all into the bin at the same time. But just look at the size of this thing. I mean, this thing is huge. So the size of the nest is encompassing the envelope as well, not just the comb. So when I remove the comb, people say, oh, that's not a very big nest, because they just see the comb size. But this is a massive nest. I mean, this not only is large including the envelope, but the comb itself is huge. I mean, look at that thing. That is massive. Look at all the different queen cells on there. And you can see they're kind of just floating around. They're not like latched all over me like you would see with southern yellow jackets or eastern yellow jackets. And it was too big for my bin, so I had to go up and get a bigger bin out of my car and bring that down and put it in there. But that just gives you a little bit of a reference about how big it is. So just sucking up a few of the ones off the surface of the envelope, or off the surface of the comb, because there are ones that are flying around the room and they're going to come back to the comb. So if I just use this as a magnet, and then they'll fly down to it and check it out, and then I'll vacuum them up off the surface while I go up and get the bin. So I'm heading up to get the bin now, and I'll come down and put it in there, and allowing this to attract some more adults while I'm up there getting that bin done. So one bin's way too small, the other one's way too big, but this is just the sizes that I had, so. Gently place it down into this bin because I don't want to disturb the colony. Not that I have to worry about them flying around too much now, because now they're in the bin, but you just don't want to just rip the thing up and accidentally tear off a layer of comb or something. So just having to check inside here. Now there's obviously a lot of envelopes still inside, and there's a lot of adults inside there. So they're still coming back from foraging and coming into the space and being like, okay, WTF, where did everybody go? So leaving a bit of envelope in there is definitely helpful to get up the rest of the foragers that are coming back. So most of my videos are around like 10 minutes to 15 minutes, but these removals take me about an hour, hour and a half, and 2 hours depending on how involved it gets. In-house removals are always the longer of the removals I do. Ground nests are the second to longest, and aerial nest building yellow jackets are pretty much always the shortest. Aerial nest building yellow jackets, everything is right there. Everything's exposed. You don't have to worry about finding the nest. But when it comes to an indwelling species like this one, or an in-cavity species, it takes a while to find them, and it also takes a while to extract the nest gingerly, so you're not causing mayhem inside of the wall space or ceiling space or whatever. So pulling down the envelope all in one piece does the same thing that pulling down the comb in one piece does, is it traps the adults that are on it. It keeps them from fleeing that spot and vacating into the ceiling space or into the room. So even though the hole's a little bit bigger, it's still hard to see up inside there. Still had to rely on my phone. So this is what I do to temporarily just seal up the hole, so that way the customers aren't seeing adults inside. It's just to tape it up with some really heavy duct tape. All right, so this is after I get the nest home, and opening up the bin, you can see there's a lot still flying around inside of there. And these are ones that had either, they were foragers that came back, they were on the envelope, or they were ones that are just between the layers and now have the ability to fly because, you know, as adults hatch, they have to wait about 2 days before they can fly. So this takes a little bit of time for them. So if they finally emerge and are able to fly, they'll kind of like explore the area inside that bin. So when I open it up, that's the first time they're seeing daylight. Now you have to remember that these species build these nests 100% in the dark. There is no light inside that cavity space. So all of this nest was built in the dark. They did that 100% by their sense and their ability to feel it with their antennae. All those cells, all those holes, all those comb, all that envelope was 100% built in the dark. Doesn't that just blow your mind? I mean, that blows my mind. It's absolutely incredible. So you'll see here, there are a lot of queens and males inside these different layers. Remember when I said about how that the queen cell were on the outside and worker cells on the inside? This is a perfect example of that comb. So the inner circle of this comb is worker cell, but then the outer layer where all the white silk caps are queen cells. So there was a heck of a lot of queen cells in this nest. There was going to be probably several hundred, if not about 500 to 800 new queens leaving this nest to mate and start a new colony. Using my handy dandy pry bar and just prying these different comb apart, and that makes it a lot easier for me to not like just like rip it and have larvae going all over the place. Because if I rip the comb, it's going to rip cells in half and then larvae are going to be falling all over the table. I kind of want to keep everything condensed inside the comb until I go to feed it to my animals. But you can see all these adults here. Again, a lot of these are new males and new queens. There's not a heck of a lot of workers in there. So even if, you can see there's some kind of flying at me and flying around like curious, those are the workers. Those are the guards. Those are the ones that will be doing the attacking. The queens and males, if they fly away, they're not flying around me. They're not continuing to like circle. They're leaving. They are getting out of Dodge. So any ones that you see kind of hovering and floating and landing on the table and things, those are workers. Those are always 100% of the time workers. Scaredy cats are the males. They're the ones that you see fly off. They'll land on the table and then they'll scurry underneath the comb, or they'll just wander around in circles. They don't know what to do with themselves because they just freeloaders. There's the queen there on the right hand side. She just went underneath the comb. Boom. People always ask to see what's inside my vacuum, and I don't always show that because I've shown it so many times on this channel. It literally just looks like a pile of sludge inside my vacuum. There's really nothing like distinguishable or interesting about it. If you want to see that, check some of my older videos. But in 2021, I'll try to show that some more so people can see the, it literally looks like wet paper mache inside the vacuum, like it's featureless. There's nothing really to see. But there are some videos in 2019 and early 2020 that I was like picking up the contents from inside the vacuum with my bare hands and showing them to the camera. So if you're interested in that, you can check those videos out. With being a nest with this many comb layers, it does take a little bit longer to have to separate them. And I usually kind of wait maybe like 2 days before I actually start to take apart one particular nest, because then I can get a few nests at one time and then take them all apart at the same time. So usually when I'm doing this in 2020, I was probably taking apart maybe 10 nests at a time. There's the queen there. Yeah, she is massive. And that is the queen. That's queen mother. That's not a new queen. That is the queen. You can tell because she's more robust. She's got more of a golden hue on the sides of her and the underside of her abdomen. But in the vacuum she goes. Whoop. So just getting the last few layers of comb apart, making sure I get all the adults out of there. I don't want any adults to be inside the comb if I can help it, because I don't want my chickens to be, first of all, they won't really get stung, especially from German yellow jackets, but this is just good practice for even the more aggressive species to make sure that I get most of the adults, if not all of them, because I don't want my girls getting stung. But usually what happens is if they see a lot of adults climbing around on the comb, they won't eat it, because they'll kind of like want to wait till they scurry away. So just vacuuming up the rest of the envelope here, which is really cool. I like doing this. It's very satisfying to sit here and just let it chop up into the nozzle. And sometimes I'll like take both of my hands, I'll hold the nozzle between my legs, and then just like take both of my hands and just crumple all the envelope up into the nozzle, have it just suck up in like seconds. But doing the one-handed job always works too. So. I don't know why that's so satisfying to watch, but it just is what it is. We don't question it, do we? So most of the ones you're seeing there are males and queens. There's quite a few larger wasps there, and also obviously the ones with the longer antennas, which are the males. So even after I do one vacuum over, I have to take each one of the layers of comb and do a second vacuum over, because the ones that are swarming around will sometimes land on them, like that one, and climb around underneath the different layers. So I just go one by one before I put them back into the bin. There's a few that landed there. And the ones flying around are not going to start new colonies. Like I said, they're workers. They will die probably in a day or so. So they're probably one of the luckier ones come out of these removals, because they get a few more minutes of survival time. And then bringing all the nests, like I said, I do about 10 nests at a time, bringing all those nests up here for my girls after removing the yellow jackets and the hornets or whatever the species are that I'm doing, and dump them out for the girls to come up and eat. Get it, girls. So you can see that Pigeon was molting at this point. She looks terrible. But she's still a bossy chicken. She bosses around the younger girls, Henny and Giblet. There's Daisy here at the bottom, and of course the turkey, which her name's Goosey. People always ask what the turkey's name is. I call her Turkey just as a nickname, but her real name's Goosey. Gobble gobble. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video. As most of you know, I started a Twitch channel, and I've been live streaming on Twitch pretty much every night since I started it back on Sunday. And I had such a good time for the last few nights that I've been streaming live. Folks were coming in and just chatting and just hanging out. It's been so much fun getting to know you guys. Special thank you to Cynthia Staton, Lynn Lutz, Star, Irma, Letus, some of these folks that have been coming in and joining the stream pretty much every night. Crafty. I can't remember quite everybody off the top of my head, but I'm just so excited that you folks come in pretty much every stream and at least just say hey. And that just means a lot to me that you folks are coming in and supporting the channel and helping grow the community on a separate platform other than just YouTube. I've been getting a lot of questions on some of my comments and things about why not use YouTube for live streaming instead of using Twitch. The problem is about YouTube doing the live streaming is that the algorithm doesn't distinguish the difference between live streaming and produced content like what you're watching right now. So it'll lower my ranking in the algorithm if I live stream to a lower audience than what I normally get with my produced videos. Well, it's more logical that I'm going to get a lower audience with streaming than I am with my produced content. The streaming isn't as searchable as, say, my produced content. So the algorithm says, oh, you're streaming to less people are watching, well, we're going to lower your search ranking. It's comparing apples to oranges. So it's easier for me to live stream on a platform like Twitch, which is made for live streaming, rather than dealing with the consequences of streaming live on YouTube. I don't expect anybody to download Twitch specifically to watch me, though there have been people who have done that, and I'm very, very grateful and thankful that you guys have decided to download Twitch specifically to come to my streams. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, drop in the comments, let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions for future videos or something like to see me covered in an upcoming video, or any ideas you'd like to see covered in an upcoming Twitch stream, also drop in the comments, let me know. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to check out my videos, supporting my channel, and supporting my Twitch stream, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.